Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. Not too long ago, I reviewed all 5 seasons of the original Teen Titans. I then asked you all which show should I do a season by season review of next. You chose Avatar: The Last Airbender. So starting this month, I'm going to be talking about all 3 books of Avatar, beginning with Book One. The 4 element bending nations of fire, water, air, and Earth used to live in peace until the Fire Nation invaded the world. Only the master of all 4 elements, the Avatar, could stop them, but he had mysteriously vanished. 100 years later, Water Tribe members Katara and Sokka discovered the new Avatar, an airbender called Aang, who had been frozen in ice for a whole century. With help from Katara and Sokka, Aang must learn all 4 elements in order to defeat the Fire Nation. But it won't be easy, as the Fire Nation themselves are after the Avatar. Not only that, Prince Zuko, who was banished from the Fire Nation, will only be welcomed back into his father's kingdom if he can capture Aang. I have watched this show before, a few years ago, but only the first episode, and boy do I regret waiting this long to watch more. I was really immersed in this first season, greatly impressed by its mature storytelling, fully dimensional characters, and very unique ideas. The show documents Aang, Katara and Sokka's journey to the North Pole with a wide sense of adventure, but it also takes its time to shape our lead heroes as characters. Each episode has the 3 of them arriving in a different community. It's an exciting surprise every location, as we don't know how these communities will respond to the Avatar, which of them are benders, and how they even feel about bending. Along the way, Aang revisits his history, recalling his experiences at said location, which can either be very tragic or upliftingly nostalgic, depending on the state of the village or temple itself. But we also get to see how the 3 heroes work as a team. Can they get along, or will their egos clash? There are certain episodes that make us wonder if Aang, Katara and Sokka will remain together. Maybe one of them has put the others in danger, or perhaps disagreements have caused them to make opposing decisions. We want these 3 to stick as a team, but we also know that things can't always be perfect, so when their friendship starts to crack, a part of us believes it may be all over.
We can't leave now with the Fire Nation about to burn down a forest.
I'm sorry, Katara. Jet's very smooth, but we can't trust him.
You know what I think? You're jealous that he's a better warrior and a better leader.
Katara, I'm not jealous of Jet. It's just that my instincts...
Well, my instincts tell me we need to stay here a little longer and help Jet. Come on, Aang.
To add to the tension, Prince Zuko is always on our heroes' tails, determined to catch Aang. His relentless nature keeps the show's momentum going. He refuses to give up, so I was always anxious about how long Aang, Katara and Sokka would stay in their current stop, knowing that Zuko could arrive at any moment. Especially when the show actually lets us know Zuko's current whereabouts and what his plans are. Let's also not forget that the Fire Nation itself is after Aang, and they are a much more imposing threat compared to Zuko. But we don't get the same threat for every episode. Sometimes we have guest villains, so a story won't always employ Zuko or a fire-bending official as the antagonist. It will spice up the usual formula by throwing in someone different. This means that even if the Fire Nation or Zuko aren't attacking our heroes, that doesn't mean they're going to be safe. There's a big chance that there's going to be someone else after them, making a lot of episodes very unpredictable. Another running plot in the show is Aang's crush on Katara. Katara is naively oblivious to his feelings, but Aang struggles to be straightforward with her too, making for a cute romantic storyline for this series to touch on sometimes.
Aang's just a good friend. A sweet little guy. Just like Momo. Thanks.
Interestingly, in one episode, a fortune teller informs Katara that she will marry a powerful bender one day. Does this mean Aang? Or will Aang have some competition in a future season? Is the fortune teller even right? I'm curious where the show will take this. Now, while season 1 does stick to an episodic structure, it's still building towards our heroes arriving in the North Pole, which happens in the last few episodes. It all culminates towards one hell of a finale, in which firebenders invade the North Pole, Sokka finds romance with a princess, Katara and Aang improve as waterbenders, the Fire Nation Admiral tampers with the gods, causing a potential apocalypse, and Zuko comes extremely close to capturing Aang, the closest yet. These last few episodes bravely explore complex themes like arranged marriage, war, and the consequences of messing with sacred deities. Respecting children enough to know that they can handle and understand these ideas, or at least challenge themselves to contemplate about them. I love how the show knows how to end a season with a bang, by raising high stakes and breaking new grounds, making for a highly rewarding end to the first season. So let's talk about the characters. What do we learn about them in Book One? Aang could have been written as this cherubic, perfect monk boy, but instead he's written as a normal kid, which makes him very identifiable to young audiences.
Aang! Hey, come on, little guy. Wanna go sledding? Ooh.
Aang may be the Avatar, but he's still just a little kid, a young boy who enjoys playing and having fun. He does genuinely want to save the world though, particularly because when the role of Avatar was first imposed on him, he decided to run away, but got into a dangerous storm and chose to freeze himself for safety. This gave the Fire Nation the advantage to invade everywhere, and he feels immensely guilty for this.
Aang would never turn his back on anyone.
Oh, he wouldn't, huh? Then I guess I must have imagined the last 100 years of war and suffering.
Aang is the bravest person I know. He has done nothing but help people and save lives since I met him. It's not his fault he disappeared, right, Aang? Aang, what's wrong?
He wants to make up for this mistake by embracing his position as Avatar from now on, even though we know deep down he's a scared and confused little boy who longs to enjoy the pleasures of childhood. The show addresses how overwhelming it must be to be only 12 years old, technically, and the weight of the world is on your shoulders. We're asked to sympathize with his heavy burden, but we're also frequently reminded that his duties are very important. His juvenile energy is very cute and funny, but it's a trait that also gives him a lot of optimism, a quality required for a hero destined to save the world. Some communities become so excited by the Avatar's arrival that Zuko or the Fire Nation get wind of the news, so this makes our hero sometimes reluctant to expose Aang as the Avatar in case they put innocent people in danger. So Aang has this conflict where he wants to give hope to his people, but he doesn't want to attract the flames of the Fire Nation too. The series is so good at showing that being the Avatar is both a great opportunity and an overwhelming responsibility.
What happened? I must have taken out a dozen Fire Navy ships, but there's just too many of them. I can't fight them all.
But you have to. You're the Avatar.
I'm just one kid.
Aang is not a perfect idol. He can be selfish or childish sometimes, and he still has so much to learn. But you can tell that he sincerely wants to spread love and understanding around the world, and the consequences to his mistakes teach him to behave in the future. I look forward to seeing him grow throughout each season. Aang also has two pets, Momo the lemur and Appa the flying bison. Momo mainly serves as a cute mascot for the show, not much else, but Appa is not only a mode of transportation for our heroes, he also steps into fights if another animal is the threat. Both Momo and Appa are lovable supporting characters, but Appa deserves high credit for all his hard work. Katara, much like Aang, is a very sympathetic and optimistic person, but she's far more grown up than Aang. She tends to have a happy-go-lucky attitude, often very calm about her decision-making, because you can tell that she takes everyone's feelings into account before making them. Can she be wrong sometimes? Yeah, she's human, but she will be grown up enough to admit to her poor judgment. Sure, she can lose her temper, especially when someone represses or insults her based on her gender, but we understand those kinds of frustrations. She's a talented waterbender in a world where some tribes push women into healing rather than fighting. It's her determination to break these sexist rules that makes her so awesome. Her self-empowerment is inspiring, and young girls watching the show are bound to look up to her. Of course, sometimes she does get angry for less justified reasons, but unlike the other characters, when she lets her tongue slip, she apologizes right away.
You just gotta shift your way through the stances. There. See? The key to bending is...
Will you please shut your air hole? Believe Believe it or not, your infinite wisdom gets a little old sometimes. Why don't we just throw the scroll away since you're so naturally gifted? What? Oh my gosh, Aang. I am so sorry. I don't know what came over me.
This is what makes her the most mature of the three. One of her biggest standout moments, without a doubt, is when she tries to rescue a tribe of Earthbenders from a Fire Nation prison ship. She's at a huge disadvantage because there's no Earth to work with and the Warden has crushed his prisoner spirits. But Katara, who grew up on heroic stories about Earthbenders, is determined to inspire these poor people, believing that they have the power to escape if they embrace who they are, and she even finds a clever solution to the lack of surrounding Earth. Sokka mainly serves as a comic relief character and a counter to the other characters' upbeat optimism. Unlike the others, Sokka tends to be nihilistic, but within good reason. He's thinking about the safety of the team, and is always reminding the other two that these are dangerous times.
I know you all want to fly, but my instincts tell me we should play it safe this time and walk.
Who made you the boss?
I'm not the boss, I'm the leader.
You're the leader? But your voice still cracks.
I'm the oldest and I'm a warrior, so I'm the leader.
It's this caution that can help the team to not get carried away, but more often than not, Sokka's advice gets ignored. However, Katara and Aang do face the consequences if Sokka was right all along. It's very funny watching Sokka's pessimism clash with the others' enthusiasm, as it's the perfect comedic dynamic, but there's also comedy to come from his huge ego being popped. He may be the oldest, but he's still a hormonal, ill-tempered teenager, and he'll let his rage get to him sometimes. Despite his obvious flaws though, Sokka does sometimes show a knack for intelligent thinking, and can bring some surprisingly clever solutions to problems or conflicts, which even shocks his own sister. Also, even though he's an insecure hothead, especially when women show him up, he does have enough humility to confess that he may be not as strong as he thinks, and that he has a lot to learn. What interests me the most about him though is that he's the only one of the three who isn't a bender, giving him a huge disadvantage on the battlefield when the team have to face skilled benders who want to kill them. But even though he can't bend, he does want to prove himself as a warrior, and his determination to contribute to fights, even in the smallest ways, is quite endearing. I'm wondering if he'll ever learn to bend, and if not, does he have a talent that only he can offer? I'll have to wait and see. Zuko is the most straight-faced character in the series. He's not emotionless, but unlike others, he has no sense of humor or witty dialogue to offer. What he does have though is a constant bad temper, which really helps to give him a menacing presence, as he's a force of aggressive rage who won't stop. Before he was banished from the Fire Kingdom, Zuko attended a Fire Nation war conference and spoke out against their unethical sacrifice of loyal soldiers.
They'll be used as a distraction while we mount an attack from the rear. What better to use as bait than fresh meat?
You can't sacrifice an entire division like that! Those soldiers love and defend our nation. How can you betray them?
This led to him facing a duel with his father, the Fire Lord, hence his permanent physical scar on his face. Knowing this makes Zuko a very complex character, a boy who was fiercely scolded for showing a conscience, in a culture where ethics mean little and power means everything. But he does indicate that a sympathetic side is being harbored deep inside him when he starts showing compassion for his shipmates, so maybe he can overcome his emotional repression one day and perhaps embrace his former self.
Uncle, I'm sorry.
Your apology is accepted.
With the show often setting its focus on Zuko's sea travels, it is clear that his character arc is important to follow, and because he's so passionate, we can't help but root for him, even though we know that his goal is to make Aang his prisoner. He comes so close sometimes too, and we can almost feel for his frustrations over these failings. It's like Aang and Zuko are rivals in the vein of Roadrunner and Coyote or Tom and Jerry. That's what makes their dynamic so great. We keep wanting to see who will have the upper hand, and if Zuko will ever successfully capture his target. Zuko's uncle Iroh is his only family after being banished. Even though Zuko is disrespectful to his uncle at times, you can tell that he does care about him. It's just hard for him, because his mind has been programmed to avoid expressing sensitive feelings for others, as the last time he did, he was scarred for life. Iroh's zen-like personality makes for a comical contrast against Zuko's temperamental seriousness, but it also makes him the perfect conscience for Zuko too. Iroh dearly loves his nephew, he's like a son to him, especially after losing his own child, so while he will be loyal to him, he also tries to get Zuko to make wise choices. I really enjoyed Iroh's laid-back personality and felt endeared by his relationship to Zuko.
Uncle, do you realize what this means?
I won't get to finish my game.
It means my search. It's about to come to an end. That light came from an incredibly powerful source. It has to be him.
Oh, it's just the celestial light. We've been down this road before, Prince Zuko. I don't want you to get too excited over nothing.
Now, the world of Avatar is brilliantly imaginative, fusing a variety of inspired ideas to create its own universe, one that helps set the show apart from other Western cartoons. The wildlife that inhabit this world are blends of recognizable animals, which is really charming and creative, as each creature is a surprise twist on an animal or two that we already know, but we still believe that it's possible for them to exist in this fantasy setting. This world also employs ideologies, philosophies, customs, spiritual beliefs, and designs from a variety of Asian cultures. You can really tell that the writers respect and admire the cultures that have inspired their universe. At no point do they drag a real religion or country through the dirt. They fully understand why a lot of Asian communities follow these traditions or have certain mindsets. Not to mention, the landscapes are intensely beautiful and immersive. There's vibrant, colourful detail in every location, but each background is also tangibly organic too, helping to convince us that people or animals live in these places. The atmosphere of each village or temple is wonderful, as we get a strong or clear feeling from every unique community, simply through the storytelling embedded in every background design. The animation for Avatar is one of its most noticeable aspects, as it's obviously heavily inspired by anime, which isn't new for Western animation, but it has been a rarity. This makes the show stand out a bit from other American cartoons, especially because it boldly wears its Asian influences on its sleeves with pride, more so than most other Western animated series that try to imitate the anime aesthetic. It's led to the argument whether Avatar is considered an anime or not, but I'm not opening that can of worms. Even though the series is working with a television budget, lots of effort goes into every episode. Characters are very expressive in a variety of emotions, and animators aren't afraid to stretch or wrinkle their faces to achieve specific moods or reactions. Both the drama and comedy benefit from this, because the emotions come off really strong, helping us to laugh at the intentional humor and connect to characters' joys, pleasures, fears, or sadness. Two different Korean animation studios worked on the first season, JM Animation and DR Movie. I didn't notice that each episode switched between animation studios, so it's pretty consistent in my eyes, but I'm sure that hardcore fans have found differences in quality and style. It's obvious that the animation got the most attention for bending scenes, because no matter the element, the action scenes are incredible and engaging. Each bender moves in a way that reflects their element, like firebenders attack with fierce aggression, earthbenders perform strikes in a Tai Chi style movement, waterbenders are like fluid ballet dancers, and airbenders blow intense forces of wind. No battle is ever the same in this show. It all depends on the context of the fight, what environment is surrounding our characters, and what elements are being used. These fights kept me gripped to the screen because so much creativity is put into them, blending martial arts with spiritual magic in magnificently imaginative ways. When characters settle differences with bending, you know it's about to get real. These duels really are some of the show's best highlights. To conclude, Book One of Avatar is a fantastic introduction to the show. It paints an excitingly vivid picture of its world, and its characters are well-rounded enough to make me want to follow them. I'm already hooked. I have to call myself a fan now, and I can't wait to start watching Book 2. So, what do you think of Book 1 of Avatar? Let me know in the comment section below. I've been Jambareeqi and I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, then feel free to subscribe to my channel. Also, please consider supporting me by making a monthly pledge to my Patreon in return for awesome rewards. Thank you. Up next, Book 2. Cheerio, folks.